So today we're working on planting potatoes. We're getting them laid out in there. But first, the rows are getting marked because apparently I was putting them too close together. But I'll show you over here. So what Marius likes to do is, even though the potatoes don't get hilled yet, he puts a hill at the beginning of every potato row so that we know where the rows are. So first we lay out the potatoes. He would probably like me to tell you that if he was doing this on his own, he would have a string line and he would be measuring how far apart they are. But I'm kind of just throwing down potatoes roughly. And these seed potatoes, these are actually from my sister, but they're originally from my in-laws. And these are what is called Sieglinde potato. And they are my absolute favorite potato. They're like a Yukon Gold, but even better. So buttery and delicious. And Marius's dad, his method with planting potatoes is that he saves all the smallest potatoes from harvest, and then those become next year's seed potatoes. He doesn't cut potatoes because then there's less chance of the potatoes rotting before they sprout. So they're getting planted, and then we will not water these until they sprout. Once they sprout, then we'll start pounding them with water so we get nice big potatoes growing. So we decided on a little bit of a change in gardening plans, and Marius is getting ready to go. He's going to take all these guys. This one is not sleeping well today. So he's going to take the kids for a walk and put Rowan in the baby carrier and give me some time to work because my cup needs to be filled and I need some outdoor physical work to fill that cup. So he's going to take all the kids for a walk, look for mushrooms, maybe go to the creek, look for fossils, and you'll have a fun time with Daddy. Is one of the bonuses of a bottle-fed baby, is that he can take her out and just packs a bottle. So, what do you think? So I'm looking forward to working in the garden without managing a baby. Mostly she's really good. Today she's cranky and Mama needs a bit of hands-free time. Back where we left off. So you can see I got some rows of potatoes behind me. I plunk them all down and then I'm gonna dig them all. Normally this is like a group project, but I decided I wanted this to be my project. Hence why Marius has let go of the reins. He spaced the rows for me because he wasn't happy with how I was spacing them. But he didn't even put a string line and didn't even measure them. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 rows of potatoes. I think we have enough seed potatoes to do like 4 or 5 rows. And then Mare's dad has loads of seed potatoes. So I'll probably get some different varieties from him. He does grow this Sieglinde. He originally got the seed from us where we used to live. And they've become one of his favorite ones. They're a shorter season potato. They will be much taller, the plants, before the other ones. They'll grow quicker, and then you can harvest them sooner, so they miss some of those late season rots and blights and things that bother your potatoes. So that's nice, and they keep really well. We're still eating Sieglindes from last year's harvest, and it's the middle of May. So that works good for me. I just love the Sieglindes. They're just so good. They're just so buttery and creamy and delicious, and honestly I'd rather just grow all of them, but Marius likes growing the other ones too, so we will. So you can see the different mounds, which will be rows, and then this bottom part here is going to become strawberries. Strawberries, I don't think we're going to fill this much space. We're leaving more space than we need for a couple reasons. One, because we want to have space put all the runners in right away before winter, and then they'll get mulched and left in the ground all winter. We want to have an epic strawberry patch. That's one of our gardening goals. We want to be able to make lots of jam and freeze lots and eat as many as we want. So this year we're making a stab at that. We're buying 100 plants, which isn't like insane by any means, but then you think that every plant is going to put out a couple runners this year because they're fairly mature plants. And so then our 100, hopefully, fingers crossed, next spring will be like 200 to 300. This is Just fingers crossed, in theory. Hopeful, wishful thinking. But that's the goal. We want to have more strawberries than we know what to do with. That's my goal. I needed to come up here for a shovel, so I thought I would give you a May berry garden update. This is what our berry garden looks like right now. This is where my sister dug out a massive lilac that would have been an allergy bomb for me. This is a haskap, or a honeyberry. It's blossoming. It's yummy. I wouldn't call it like my most favorite berry ever. I'm obviously a strawberry lover. But it's the most early berry you're gonna get here, so that's why we have it. And it was already here. This berry garden was already here when we bought the house. We are very lucky with that. So over here we have a rhubarb. Something just made a funny noise. Our rhubarb is getting really close to be ready. I think I could almost steal some off of here. Maybe I will later and make a dessert like rhubarb upside down cake. Got 3 big things of that. And then we have raspberries galore. So many raspberries. My mom pruned and thinned these when she was here for a month when I had the baby, and that was the most amazing thing ever. I'm not sure what I'm planting in these raised beds. Because they're so deep, I think I might plant like carrots in here, or I might plant, I don't know what I'm going to plant in here. I have to figure out the watering here though. Our watering is always a little tricky. Here's a pair of children's shoes. But that platform there had a water cube like we have down in the barnyard. And we're thinking of putting some 50-gallon barrels and putting spigots on them, figuring out something with that. I would like to be able to water the berries. It's not a priority because they still do decent without it, but it would be nice to be able to. It's one of our hay fields. Apparently has a lot of dandelions. Well, the hay doesn't start till out there more. Anyhow, this is the shovel I need for planting potatoes, so I don't wear out my fingers. And now, let's head back down. I got 4 rows planted. I got 4 more rows to plant, but I ran out of seed potatoes. But I wanted to plant what we had first so I could ask my father-in-law for more seed potatoes. Admittedly, I have not grown a lot of potatoes in my life. I didn't really grow up doing much gardening. I need to get into the shade here. But Marius did. He's grown potatoes his whole life. And his dad grows loads of potatoes. He said growing up his parents would grow like 1,500 to 2,000 pounds of potatoes a year because they had 5 kids, and that's how they got through the winter on a tight budget. Lots of potatoes and wild game and kale from the garden and broccoli from the garden and carrots from the garden. That's how they got through. So I've grown potatoes only a few times. Marius and I have never really had much of a decent garden space, or if we did have garden space, we didn't have decent water, like enough water to be able to water a garden. So I think this is like my 4th year growing potatoes. We grew potatoes here last year, but we tried a dryland gardening and it majorly bailed. Not doing that again. So this year we're gonna pound the water on them. They're gonna get loads of water. So they're planted, and I'm gonna plant the remaining when I get more from my father-in-law. And then once they come up and they're, I don't know, 6 or 8 inches tall, Marius will hill them, and then we will mulch the bejesus out of them with hay, because we have lots of leftover hay from our hay fields. Mulch the bejesus out of them, keep weeds down, moisture retention, all those happy things. At the end of the year, that hay will rot into the ground, improve, add organic matter, improve the soil more, all the happy things with mulching. Don't use mulch. Don't use hay or straw that is from fields that have been sprayed. You will poison your garden. You might not do it the first year, but eventually it will get poisoned. So ours are spray-free fields. So there you go. I can't wait to eat potatoes. So while Marius was out yesterday, he picked up more seed potatoes from his dad, and I just got finished planting them. And so I planted about 400 seed potatoes, and the varieties that we got from his dad are Cariba, and then what they call French, which I have no idea where that comes from. The seed that they've had for so long that it's hard to even trace its origins. Yeah, I bet you they've had the same seed for 20 years, at least. I should ask how long this seed potato's been going for. But that's the fun thing about potatoes. It's so easy to save your seed if you have somewhere cool to keep them. This squish didn't really want me to garden. I had help from her brothers, luckily, with keeping her happy. Otherwise, I would have not got the last ones planted. Her older sister, I don't think you can see over there, she's making trouble, heckling the pigs. What you working on there, Hamish?
Oh, that was really hard to pick. This root was really hard to pick.
What are you working on?
Picking weeds.
What sort of weeds? They mostly dandelions?
I found this, but the root was really hard to pick. Yeah, everything but this.
The boys are working on their fort, and they're going to be helping with fencing once it's time to do fencing staples. Mac's going to help. You can't see Marius down in there, but he's there somewhere.